We are taking you back to 1947 to the signing of the Declaration of Ceylon's independence. It was actually on December the 10th, 1947 that Ceylon received royal assent to become an independent nation from the British Commonwealth of Nations, and this became effective on February 4th, 1948. And where was it signed? Not anywhere near Independence Square, which was not in existence at the time, but at King's House, which is now President's House. Happy Independence Day, Sri Lanka. Welcome to Kaleidoscope with Savithri, Rodrigo, that's me, where we are positive, daring and different. Coming up today, an artist's musings of times lost, inclusivity in the apparel sector and a pay and a bar that gets you in the spirit. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. If you're watching us, subscribe, follow and like us for more. We say a massive thank you to our supportive partners of the show, Srilanka Life, CDB and The Daily Morning.
She wins with CDB Wings, exclusive financial solutions for women.
Looking back at the week that was on CDB Snapshot, the Indian government allocates 3 billion Indian rupees for Sri Lanka in its 2025 budget. Japan is gifting Sri Lanka 555 million rupees to increase the capacity of Sri Lanka's waste management system. Sri Lanka's birth rate reduces by 22% to 23% while infant mortality rises. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists sets its doomsday clock to 89 seconds to midnight, symbolic of how close humanity is to destroying the world. New research finds that bees count from left to right, just like many of us do. The Beatles win a Grammy this year, 55 years after they broke up, for their song Now and Then. Two ghost hunters in England are gobsmacked when an alleged ghost cries out a rude two-word phrase to them.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
And welcome to Srilanka Live News Capsule. In Sri Lanka, around 9% of our population lives with a disability. That's over 1 million people. And about 70% of them are unemployed. Enter Inclusive Threads, the flagship program of the International Labour Organization's Better Work Initiative, which, in association with the International Finance Corporation, is working towards integrating persons with disabilities into the apparel industry. National Project Coordinator for Better Work at the ILO, Pulinda Perera, threads the story together for us. How inclusive is Inclusive Threads? Who exactly are you hoping to include and in what areas of work?
Our aim is to increase employability and provide more opportunities for persons with disabilities in the apparel sector. So, who are we engaging? We want to engage everyone. As the ILO, we are the UN agency in the world of work. So we work with our constituents who are the employers, government and the trade unions. So we hope to engage all of them and of course persons with disabilities, organizations for persons with disabilities to ensure that we achieve the objectives of Inclusive Threads to create more employment opportunities for persons with disabilities and also increase their employment.
Why did you hone in on the apparel industry?
The Better Work program is a program that is run in 13 other countries and it's primarily focused on the garment and the footwear industry. So as you know, in Sri Lanka we have over 350 apparel manufacturers and also we have over 350,000 workers employed in the apparel factories. So therefore this program will be dedicated to and also will be focused on the apparel industry in Sri Lanka.
What are some of the myths, some of the stigmas that you would like to dispel surrounding persons with disabilities in the world of work in this industry?
One of the main things we want to address is that employers or other apparel manufacturers who have not recruited persons with disabilities yet they're a bit reluctant. That is because there's this myth where they think that persons with disabilities may, if they employ persons with disabilities, this may bring down their productivity. But if you speak to companies who have employed, and in fact I can give an example. I recently visited one of the apparel companies, and what they had to tell me was that when they calculate the average efficiency of an employee with a hearing disability and comparing with an employee with who doesn't have a hearing disability, the average efficiency was higher in the employee with a hearing difficulty. They can do it. Persons with disabilities, they are also people, just like you and I. They don't need any kind of special treatment. It's just, all they need is reasonable accommodation to perform their job. The parents think, no, my son or my daughter, they have a disability and they can't do anything in society. So that is also one of the things we want to address.
Are employers open to your suggestion, or is it merely a tick box because it looks good on their reports?
Employers who have already employed persons with disabilities, they know how valuable it is. They know how well and how well persons with disabilities can work, just like another employee. So creating this awareness, showing the employers who are not employing persons with disabilities, showing them that it's possible, it's not a hit on their efficiency, I think can promote that and overcome this obstacle.
Our markets are giving us something to think about this week. At the Colombo Stock Exchange, the all-share price index paused and reversed direction, with profit-taking and margin calls putting the brakes on what has been a phenomenal rise over the past few months. Oil prices traded lower at between $72 to $78 per barrel, which is 3% lower than late December, as the US imposed a new 10% tariff on Chinese imports, spurring retaliatory tariffs by Beijing. New US sanctions against Iran, the third largest oil producer in OPEC+, which extracts about 3.3 million barrels of oil per day, 3% of global output, kept oil prices from free falling. And gold prices hit an all-time high due to China's response with retaliatory tariffs to the Trump tariffs. $2,860 per ounce it is, driven by investors seeking the safe haven asset. Gaurav Gupta's absolutely stunning collection at Paris Couture Week was titled Across the Flame. It turned the world around into a magical realm. Londoners removed their trousers and braved the cold to travel on the tube on annual No Trousers Tube Day, continuing a tradition that began in 2002 in New York City. Layla Gonaduwa, quite a regular guest on our show, is a self-taught interdisciplinary artist who is all about fearless experimentation. Her exhibition Maha was done when she was in an artist's residency and during COVID, revealing some fascinating facts of rural Sri Lanka, which is where she travelled all by herself. Her most recent exhibition, titled Fallow, expresses and explores the intricacies of the concept of nature returning to a state of balance after society engineers its collapse. A timely and relevant subject that has inspiration behind it and that hits very close to home. Here to deep dive into the whys and wherefores of Fallow and more is the wonderful Layla Gonaduwa. Why Fallow? What brought you this distance?
Well, the distance was traveled sometime back, a couple of years ago, right after the Aragalya. I did have an exhibition at Barefoot. And then I took a long break, and part of that break sort of was, traveling deep down south. And that was also the time where the harvest has been brought in and the land, just sort of lay barren and fallow. I was thinking about the fields and what kind of goes, deep down underneath on a very subterranean level. What elements are in concert with, what's outside, and how it sort of, it might appear again on the land, and it's almost sort of like band-aiding something that is barren, or, reviving something that is just sort of left bare. So the idea started from that, and I have been working on these works for a long time. So this is like a part of a bigger collection that I have in Nepal. So it's interesting because I executed all these works in Nepal, though the inspiration was from Sri Lanka.
While traveling around both Sri Lanka and Nepal, what conclusions did you come to about society, about communities?
Whatever entry point that we have, I think at the end of the day, everybody wants your country to do better and for themselves to do better. Sometimes it takes a little bit of stagnation, it takes a little bit of, quietness for something to come up. And we really don't know what, appears and what changes kind of, happen. So I think it's kind of a universal thing, especially when you compare Nepal to Sri Lanka. We have similar politics.
Layla, so what do you want us to understand about society when we look at your works?
I think it's a very simple thing. I mean, things take time. There is hibernation on the land, and hopefully what comes up is something positive. And that's what I gathered from, studying the land, that it takes time and there are weeds that come up, but these weeds too have a function. There is a function in everything that sort of, happens in nature. So I'm just trying to join the gaps and the dots of what is happening to Sri Lanka politically. And I think this kind of lays a foundation to that. Things will take time, and hopefully things are going to be better.
What is your take on the dots and the gaps that you have been seeing politically?
Well, it's kind of difficult to turn around 70 plus years of, I don't want to say rape and pillage, but something similar. And I'm just hoping it's going the right way. I mean, nothing is certain, power corrupts. And we just have to hope, because I would say this is the only chance of something completely different to happen to Sri Lanka. And that's the way I feel, it's my personal opinion. And I feel that if we all kind of help in change in our own little ways and take that plunge and not be sort of, scared about it, it will be good. It will be a good thing that we do together.
What's next?
Next is, really explore printmaking and ceramic. We are retiring back in 2026 in Sri Lanka, and I hope to have my studio space with the necessary kilns and equipment. I would like to get involved with a bit of community work as well through art. And I also have a partner who is very much into agriculture and the climate. So we are planning to be somewhat involved with the community.
So Colombo has a new piano bar, but it's in an old favorite hangout, the Bayleaf on Gregory's Road. It all began with a casual conversation at 11:30 one night, and in a few hours, Harper Gunaratna had his dream come true when a piano arrived, and with it, a jazz pianist. The Bayleaf Piano Bar and Music Lounge opened last week with jazz pianist from UK, Justin White, adding some jazzy notes to the new look ambience. In-house DJ Pradeep will continue his super disc spinning, but there will also be a lineup of talented young musicians on some weeknights to give the piano bar its vibe. So, hot-footed to the Bayleaf if music is your thing. So that's where we are going this weekend, and we'll see you next week.